and former Education Secretary under President Reagan, and Fox News contributor Bill Bennett. Bill, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, Maria. You bet, Maria.
Give us your thoughts. What do you anticipate from these confirmation hearings this week? It's a big week.
Yeah, well, I've been through 3 of them myself. Jeff Sessions will have this incredulous feeling as the Judiciary Committee interrogates him, and he's a member of the Judiciary Committee, and these people will talk to him like they've never met him before. He's known them for 10 or 15 years, and they'll ask him, you know, no doubt the Democrats will ask him, are you a racist? Do you support the Ku Klux Klan? All these questions, which they should know better. But this is theater. That's the first thing to remember. This is theater. This is for the consumption of the general public. But bottom line is Jeff Sessions and the others will be confirmed because the Republicans have the numbers, and these are very good nominees.
Okay, so the numbers, obviously, the Democrats are probably regretting the fact that they brought the votes needed to 51 down from 60. You don't think any of these nominees will have an issue?
There'll be issues. There'll be trouble. And, of course, we have to see what happens to the Office of Government Ethics reports on the financial statements and so on. But I expect you'll see a fair amount of heat. I know in the Education Secretary case, because I've been following that closely for obvious reasons, there'll be a fair amount of heat. And on Sessions, this is such a big and important job. But Jeff Sessions' record is very good, and he is well respected by his colleagues. But we can see the playbook, the Democrat playbook. You know, it's big corporate America, it's racism. There's basically 2 pages in the playbook. Outside of that, they don't know much what to do.
But let me turn back to what's going on in terms of job creation, bringing jobs back to America. A number of companies have basically gotten in line, said, look, Donald Trump is coming out with, you know, a border tax threat for overseas production, and he's, you know, trying to make an attractive environment in the U.S. for companies to operate here. Fiat Chrysler says it's going to spend $1 billion to update factories in Ohio and Michigan. They think that's going to create 2,000 new jobs. Do you think this accelerates? This is one of a handful of companies that have actually responded to the expectations of Donald Trump's tax plan.
Yeah, well, I think so. And we're reminded of the bully pulpit and the power of the bully pulpit. You know, it's been said the president won't necessarily tell you what to think, but he tells people what to talk about. He decides what people are going to be talking about at the kitchen table. Look at the effect that his presidency has had so far. Maria, I talked early on with the Carrier case about this being similar to the PATCO, the air traffic controllers with Reagan. When Ronald Reagan, and I served in his cabinet, stepped forward on the air traffic controllers enacted, people said, you know, this guy's serious. This is a real thing. And when Donald Trump made the Carrier move, and now these other phone calls, he sent a signal. Chrysler clearly picked up on that signal. By the way, as a former consumer of it, I'm delighted the Jeep Wagoneer with the wooden sides is coming back. Our kids are a little bigger now, but it could be handy for grandchildren.
Well, that's very important. I mean, why not do it? If you feel that there is an attractive environment in the U.S., do you think it's going to dictate behavior?
I think it will dictate to some degree, because what the president's doing here is exercising moral suasion. By the way, speaking of moral suasion, I just want to come back to Jeff Sessions for a second. This guy is a very morally impressive man. I've worked with him for years. When I was drug czar, he was a U.S. attorney. He's a terrific man, and he'll do well. But the moral suasion that works here is that the company thinks, well, people will think better of us for staying in the U.S. They'll use advertising to talk about that. They'll promote themselves in this way. Somebody has stepped forward, the most important person possible, the President of the United States, and said, it's good to stay in America. So they can stand up and say, and we are standing with America. That's in the air, and they can take advantage of it. I think it's a very good thing, and, of course, bottom line is a consideration as well. Good opinion doesn't hurt the bottom line.
Let me go back to the education part of this, obviously an area that you know well. Betsy DeVos, what do you think she needs to do? Let's assume she gets confirmed. What do you think she needs to do to improve education across the country?
Well, first of all, she needs to return the power to the states. Recently, Maria, for the benefit of your viewers, there was a big piece of federal legislation called ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act. This was led by Lamar Alexander. The focus of that act was to return the power over curriculum, the power over a lot of funding, the power of control back to the states. That's where it belongs. That's where it should be. Interesting little anecdote. When I was Secretary of Education, I polled the recipients of our federal grants and said, what's the single best program we run? The answer was the block grant. That means the money we took in, and then we take some out at the federal level, and then send it back to the states. They thought that was the best program of the federal government. Well, that tells you something. Why not just leave it in the states in the first place? So I think that's a very important emphasis for her. Betsy DeVos is known for her championing the issue of school choice. She has done a lot for that, and I think when they attack her for being a billionaire or being successful or whatever, she can point to the poor kids in Detroit who have benefited from her efforts at providing more school choice. But it'll be a tough hearing. Remember, the National Education Association, the American Federation of Teachers, is the heart and soul of the Democrat Party, and they don't like her much, and that's to her credit.
Yeah, so many issues to talk about. Also, you know, when we speak with managers of businesses, they say, look, we do have job openings, we just can't find the people who have the actual skill sets that we require for those jobs. So there's also that to consider. Real quick on Rex Tillerson bill, Secretary of State nominee, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, that'll be an interesting hearing. Let me just pick up on your point. Yeah, the diploma is not what it used to be. And when you talk to employers, this is what they say, Maria. They say, give us people who can read and write and count and think and follow instructions. Basics, and that's the point of basic instruction. When you ask parents, what do you want the schools to do, they say basically the same thing. The Tillerson hearing will be interesting because of the Russian stuff. I don't know that Tillerson will do it because you're supposed to go to these hearings, you know, quite humbly and very respectful. But those of us outside can make the case of the massive hypocrisy of the Obama administration on this issue and the Democrats. I just saw a quote this morning, I think on your show very early. What time did you start this morning, Maria? 1:30 a.m. in San Francisco?
Yes, I did. Right around there, actually. Yes, Phil. Yeah,
but it was a quote from Hillary Clinton. It was a quote from Hillary Clinton saying, you know, 2009, we need to have better relations with the Russians. We're going to reset, and perhaps people who are adversaries should now become our friends. Well, I mean, is that so much better than what Donald Trump has been saying? Look, you've got clear-eyed, gimlet-eyed, tough guys coming in to handle national security. No illusions on the part of Mike Flynn. No illusions on the part of Jim Mattis, Mad Dog Mattis. No illusions on the part of Kelly. These are smart and tough people. My friend K.T. McFarland as well. You think these people are going to be lulled into acquiescence or softness by the Russians? I don't. And neither will Tillerson. Right. I know Rex Tillerson a little bit. I've met with him. He's a straightforward, tough guy. He's smart. He was doing business with the Russians. All the better.
Yeah, and doing business with a lot of tough guys around the world as you try to get ExxonMobil into some real hot spots and hostile places. So obviously, he knows the playing field. Bill, good to see you. Thank you so much.